The night was pitch black. The razor-sharp peaks of the Zagros Mountains rose like jagged teeth against an empty sky. Deep within Iranian territory, under a moonless veil, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was carrying out the largest, most tightly coordinated movement of heavy armor ever seen in this century. Satellites in the Pentagon's monitoring network flagged a terrifying anomaly. A massive, unbroken convoy of military vehicles stretched for miles along a narrow, winding mountain highway. This was no ordinary supply run. It was a full-scale army on the move, with more than 1,000 vehicles threading a tight mountain pass from nose to tail. The convoy was packed with heavy flatbed trucks bearing KAR main battle tanks, dozens of mobile surface-to-air missile launchers, and hundreds of massive tanker trucks loaded with thousands of gallons of highly volatile aviation fuel and diesel. The Iranian military doctrine here was extraordinarily bold. By pushing this massive armored force through a deep, narrow gorge flanked by towering stone cliffs, the generals believed they were completely safe from a conventional ground assault. They also counted on the steep walls to shield them from American radar, intending to thrust the mechanized army through the mountains to reinforce the border before sunrise. They were about to learn a brutal lesson about United States air power. When 1,000 military vehicles amassed in a tight, inescapable bottleneck, they do not form a fortress. They become a mathematically perfect kill zone. The Pentagon did not deploy an army or send fighter jets. To erase an entire mechanized force trapped in a mountain valley, the United States Air Force called upon the $2 billion King of the Night. This is the story of the morning the United States military flew 2 stealth bombers over the Zagros Mountains, trapped 1,000 vehicles in a narrow gorge, and recreated the infamous Highway of Death in exactly 12 minutes. To grasp the unadulterated devastation about to rain down on the Iranian convoy, we must examine the mechanical phantoms cruising at 40,000 feet. 2 Northrop Grumman B-2 stealth bombers lifted off from a highly classified base. The B-2 is not merely an aircraft, it is a marvel of classified physics. Though it boasts a wingspan of 172 feet, the radar-absorbing materials and perfectly smooth flying wing design make the B-2 appear no larger than a tiny bumblebee on enemy radar screens. But the B-2 does not rely on stealth alone. It carries unrivaled precision payload capacity. The 2 bombers heading toward the Zagros Mountains were not loaded with massive unguided gravity bombs. Because the convoy was a long, thin target, dropping unguided bombs would be highly inefficient. Instead, inside the massive internal rotary launchers of the 2 stealth bombers were 160 GBU 38 Joint Direct Attack munitions. These 500-pound bombs were equipped with advanced GPS and inertial navigation tail kits, turning a standard dumb bomb into a laser-accurate smart weapon. The 2 bombers could drop 80 independent bombs in a single pass, each pre-programmed with a different specific GPS coordinate, before moving forward to the mountain pass and witnessing the absolute destruction of the Iranian army. A quick tactical quiz was posed. The B-2 stealth bomber is famously invisible to radar, but to maintain that stealth, it must carry all of its weapons internally. How much payload weight can a single B-2 carry inside its bomb bays? Is it 20,000 pounds, 40,000 pounds, or 60,000 pounds? The answer would be revealed later. Back in the Zagros Mountains, the situation was incredibly tense. The 1,000-vehicle convoy moved slowly through the narrowest segment of the pass. Towering cliffs of solid rock rose hundreds of feet on both sides of the highway. There were no exit ramps, no open desert to scatter into. At exactly 200 hours, the two B-2 stealth bombers arrived directly over the gorge. Iranian early warning radars detected absolutely nothing. The sky was dead silent. Inside the leading stealth bomber, the weapons officer executed a brilliant, utterly ruthless tactical plan. They would not simply bomb the middle of the convoy and let the rest escape. They would close the trap. The bomb bay doors of the two stealth bombers slid open. The first volley of 8 GPS-guided bombs fell silently from 40,000 feet. 4 bombs were precisely programmed to strike the very first vehicles at the absolute front of the massive convoy. The other 4 were set to hit the very last vehicles at the rear. The heavy green bombs broke the sound barrier as they plummeted toward the mountain highway, impacting at the front of the column. The lead Iranian tanks and bridge-laying vehicles exploded in massive blinding flashes of orange fire. The multi-ton wreckage instantly blocked the narrow road. Miles away, at the very back of the column, the rearguard vehicles were simultaneously obliterated by the other 4 bombs. Their burning chassis completely sealed the rear exit of the gorge. The trap had been flawlessly sprung. Panic surged through the Iranian convoy. Drivers in the middle saw massive fireballs illuminating the night sky at the front. They slammed their heavy brakes. Thousands of tires screeched against the cold asphalt. Trucks collided with the backs of tanks. Mobile missile launchers smashed into fuel tankers. The 1,000 military vehicles were now completely gridlocked, nose to tail, trapped between the burning wreckage at the front, the burning wreckage at the rear, and the massive stone cliffs on either side. It was absolute, unavoidable paralysis. Iranian commanders shouted into radios, ordering the vehicles to turn around. But there was no room to turn a tank on a narrow mountain road packed with 1,000 trucks. High above, the two B-2 pilots watched their targeting screens. The enemy was perfectly boxed in. The true massacre was ready to begin. The weapons officers released the remaining 152 smart bombs. The sky suddenly filled with a terrifying continuous waterfall of guided munitions, each bearing its own specific coordinate. They did not strike random spots on the road. The American targeting computers prioritized the massive tanker trucks carrying aviation fuel and the flatbeds carrying high-explosive rockets. The bombs struck the trapped convoy with mathematical, merciless precision. The Zagros Mountain pass instantly transformed into a river of hypersaturated fire. The 500-pound warheads detonated, physically hurling entire transport trucks and armored vehicles off the side of the highway and down into the gorge. The kinetic destruction was magnified tenfold by the environment. When the bombs hit the massive Iranian fuel tankers, thousands of gallons of diesel violently ignited, creating massive waves of liquid fire that washed over surrounding vehicles. When the bombs struck the mobile rocket launchers, the solid rocket propellant cooked off, sending erratic, burning missiles into the stone cliffs, triggering deadly rock slides that crashed onto the vehicles below. Iranian troops abandoned their vehicles and scrambled up the steep rocky walls of the gorge. But there was no place to hide from the immense overpressure shock waves echoing through the narrow valley. The sheer heat of the continuous explosions began to melt the asphalt of the highway. In exactly 12 minutes of sustained, highly calculated bombing, the B-2 Spirits emptied their magazines. The two stealth bombers closed their internal bays and silently turned back toward the Persian Gulf, completely undetected and unharmed. Below, the mountain pass fell silent, save for the roaring sound of twisted, burning metal. The next morning, high-resolution satellite imagery revealed a scene of historic devastation. The canyon looked exactly like the infamous Highway of Death from the 1991 Gulf War, but magnified to a terrifying degree. A stretch of highway miles long was completely covered in blackened, melted, and shattered remains of 1,000 military vehicles. The entire Iranian mechanized army, a force that had taken billions of dollars and years to assemble, had been permanently erased from the map in a single night. Not a single vehicle escaped the gorge. The massive, armored threat to the border had been completely neutralized. Enemy threat level was reduced to 0. The B-2 spirit proved a fundamental, terrifying truth to the rest of the world. You can hide your army in the deepest valleys and move under the cover of absolute darkness. But if you mass your forces in the open against the United States Air Force, 2 stealth bombers can turn an entire invasion force into a burning museum of scrap metal. For those who guessed £40,000 in the earlier tactical quiz, you were absolutely correct. Despite its incredibly sleek and stealthy design, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber can carry a staggering payload of 40,000 pounds of internal ordnance, allowing a single bomber to drop up to 80 independent 500-pound smart bombs in one devastating pass. What you have just witnessed is a highly classified tactical wargame simulation based on verified payload capabilities of the B-2 Spirit, Joint Direct Attack Munition Precision Ballistics, and historical bottleneck ambush doctrines. This is an educational analysis of modern military capabilities and strategic aerial warfare. What is your tactical assessment of this massive valley ambush? Do you believe the B-2 Spirit remains the ultimate strategic bomber in human history? Share your deep tactical thoughts and military analysis below. If you thought this highway massacre was intense, you will not want to miss the next massive battle simulation. Next time, we dive deep into the ocean, examining what happens when an enemy fleet of 50 warships attempts to cross the sea and is hunted by a single, completely silent American Virginia-class nuclear submarine. It will be a terrifying game of underwater cat and mouse. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on. You will not want to miss it.